Imagine if the hero that was summoned to save the world preferred to have a peaceful life. But while he takes care of his small farm, the voluptuous demon queen takes over the world to the point of unifying every race under her. Without a way to fight against her, humans became her slaves and even started to be against the hero. All of that happening while the legendary one is enjoying his tranquil life. The problem is that the queen wants to defeat the hero to prove to everyone that she is the pinnacle of all beings. So she did all that she could to find the legendary hero. But what she found wasn't as easy to deal as she expected. But all of that starts by telling us that this is a world with all races you can imagine, from simple humans to legendary dragons, and everything in between. And at this moment, all races are at war with the Queen of Demons. However, even with the strength of all races against her, the demon army with the queen is easily destroying everything. The beating was so intense that humans began to surrender, causing several rebellions. And it was with the unfolding of this war that Elizabeth, the strongest demon queen in all the history, assumed the position of ruler of the world and of all races. At that moment she sits on the throne. A priest speaks to her. "Elizabeth, do not think that you have won. In the future, our hero will come and will completely defeat you." One of her minions comes and kicks him in the head, telling him to respect the queen. This minion of hers is a human who was trained to be the hero, the savior of the prophecy, but he betrayed all of humanity. He takes on a demonic form and moves towards the priest to kill him. But suddenly the queen tells him to stop and asks the priest, "What is this talk of a hero and a prophecy that ends in the queen's defeat? You filthy human, explain what this means. There are more than 1,000 worse ways than death to make you suffer." The priest explains that the prophecy tells that when a hero appears and removes the sword stuck in the ground, it will be the day when humanity will destroy the demon race and regain control of the earth. The sword is there in the central hall. If you want, go take a look. She goes there, stares at the sword, and thinks, so when the warrior pulls this out, I will die. Interesting. Let's see when that's going to happen. Then she prepares her entire army for the arrival of the so-called great hero. And a year passes. Then 2 years pass. But then 3 years pass. 4 years. And there's no one left properly guarding the castle entrance. 15 years later. Where the hell is the hero who hasn't shown up yet? Life in the city has even returned to stabilize. The races are all living peacefully. Trolls, lizards, humans, elves, all living in peace. And because of this, most people don't even want the hero to return. They are insecure because they know that if the hero returns, there will be a war. A lot of people will die, and they will have to rebuild the entire empire again. Even a faction against the arrival of the hero has been created. No one wants the hero to come. In the hall, the queen asks, "Does anyone have any news of this bastard who hasn't come to kill me?" The elf tells her that she has contacted all the trees, plants, and insects on the entire planet. No one knows where the so-called hero is. The dwarf says he's dumb and can't collect any information. But of all the weapon shops and blacksmiths in the world, no one has heard of the hero. The trader who is now representing the human race says he doesn't even think it's worth worrying about anymore. Probably, the hero doesn't even stand a chance against the queen anymore. But the bull demon who is on his side there already warns, "Be careful, the queen is not afraid of the prophecy. She wants the prophecy to happen. She wants the hero to come here and fight her. Better not talk too much about it because she's been irritated for 15 years. The elf says, in fact, this prophecy is probably a farce. And this hero doesn't even exist. At that moment, that guy who had warned the queen that the hero was going to come and kill her, enters with a sign from the Anti-Hero Arrival Association. The guy changed completely. Angry, the queen grabs him there with her hand of darkness and asks, "You didn't say there was going to be a hero of prophecy who was going to come and pull this damn sword here? Where is he?" The WoW #1 fan of her says that in fact, she is so strong, that the prophecy even failed to activate because humanity couldn't create a being as powerful as her. The queen's minion agrees with him. "That's true, my great queen. You don't even need to worry about this hero anymore. There's no chance for him." But he gets a thick tail slap in the face. The queen puts the priest on the wall and says, "Where is this damn hero? I've reached the top of the world, but I need to kill him. Otherwise, everyone will think I'm afraid of the prophecy. Where's this damn guy?" She even says she studied all the powers of this planet to learn the magic of the end of the world, just to face him. But where is he? At that moment, she stares at the sword and says, "Okay then, since you didn't come to me, I'll come to you." And she starts trying to pull the sword. Everyone is watching in horror saying, "Your Majesty, don't do it. You will die. The sword was made to kill you." Energy begins to explode all around the place. The queen is sweating, and everyone starts flying, having to protect themselves. She uses another wave of power and blows up the entire castle. However, with this, she pulls out the sword of prophecy. Who said only the hero can take this out? At that moment, she can feel for whom the sword is calling, and her gaze begins to sweep the planet toward a little house, a small farm in the middle of nowhere, and she says, "So this is where you've been hiding?" Then she uses a forced teleportation. Her subjects beg, "Please, your majesty, don't go. Allow me to serve by your side." Queen Elizabeth. We then see life in that little farmhouse. A boy is there peacefully with his straw hat, wiping the sweat from his face and saying, farming is so peaceful, and he really is the legendary hero. We see how his life was before being reincarnated. He was a guy who worked all day, and he hardly had any hobbies. He didn't play video games, didn't read anything. The only thing he liked to do was watch some farming TikToks on the way to work. And he always thought, "Man, if I could live a life like this, just farming and without worries, it would be so good." And then he was transported to this world. The beginner system taught him how to do basic survival things, like using some weapons, how to hunt, and he really liked it. This had always been the farmer's life he wanted, but then the system started warning him. "Congratulations, hero, you have completed the beginner stage. You can now start your adventure." But he thought, why start the adventure? Well, it's so peaceful here on my farm. I'm not in the mood. The system explained. After you leave the beginner village, you will encounter many people in this world. You will learn many skills and magics. You will learn swordsmanship and become stronger. And when you become the legendary hero, you will kill the demon queen. Please start your adventure now. But he thought, I'm not interested in killing the demon queen. Let her be. I just want to stay here and live peacefully. But the system kept insisting. No, you can't do that. The demon queen is killing everyone. Please start the adventure. Start the adventure. Every day he was spamming this to the protagonist. But he soon realized that, besides complaining, the system couldn't do anything else. So, he decided to live there forever. Since there's the beginner village where the hero starts, it comes with a protective barrier to increase survival chances in the beginning. So the place is undetectable, and time there still flows differently to help the hero evolve more. The days are much longer. He can plant, hunt, forge, meditate, all in the same day. Sure, he still doesn't understand anything about swords and magic, but that's not important. He doesn't feel like leaving here anyway. He'll just stay here, with his simple life, doing his farming, very peaceful. But then one day, the system got angry and started cursing at him, saying he was only exchanging points for farmer items. And that was a disgrace. It was a shame for the system. He was brought here to kill the demon queen. With that, the system collapsed and exploded. Since then, he never received a message again, and life became more peaceful than ever. He's there on another day of his collection, saying it's time to eat. He realizes he forgot his little axe out in the forest, so he'll have to go back. But at that moment, the skies began to darken and gather energy, and the protagonist thought, oh no, just now. On the other hand, the queen appeared in the sky saying, finally found the legendary hero of all prophecies. Our hero was running because he left some clothes on the clothesline with some fish, and if it rains, everything will get wet and ruin. While taking things off the clothesline, he feels relieved. Thank goodness I managed to get here in time. If it had rained, my fish would be wet. My clothes too. I wouldn't even have anything to wear tomorrow. At that moment, a mechanical dog beside him starts barking. Our protagonist tells him to go inside because it's going to rain, but the little dog nods, indicating for him to look up. Our hero thought, what's that thing up there, son? The queen, hearing this, gets irritated. What do you mean by calling me a thing? He realizes she's getting angry and apologizes. I wasn't seeing clearly. You're kinda far away. The queen decides to check if he's the hero and sends something in his direction. When it gets to his side, it's the sword that surrounded him and went straight to his hand. So it's confirmed, right? He's the hero. On the other hand, our hero is all scared. He doesn't even want this sword, telling her take it back. I don't want this thing here. The queen, seeing that he doesn't even want the sword, starts getting irritated, thinking, is he hiding his true power? I, Elizabeth, the strongest demon queen in history. I will obliterate you. The protagonist is dying of fear and annoyed because the system had said it was impossible to find him there. The little dog keeps barking at the demon queen and the protagonist finally understands, following the logic of the prophecy. It was inevitable that one day they would meet. So, there's not much more to say. He drops the sword and walks back home as if he's accepting his fate. I'm going to die anyway, so I'll die peacefully in this house here at least. I've never practiced anything. I have no sword skills. I have no magic, so I'll lie down in this bed and be blown up. However, from the queen's perspective, she interpreted everything differently, as if he had told her that he didn't even need to defend the house, that only his little dog was more than enough, and that she should come at him with everything she has. Obviously, she didn't like that. This cursed hero is arrogant. She immediately sends a bunch of meteors towards the house. However, the little dog starts calculating her power. He prepares a barrage of missiles, shoots in her direction and stops everything. Looking at that, the queen thinks, I didn't expect the great hero of legends to be so arrogant. Are you really going to rely on an advanced magical tool with consciousness? But in my presence, everything is inferior. The skies then turn purple and she prepares a devastating power, saying she's tired of playing games. However, the little dog once again does the calculations, conjures a black ball, and sends it towards her power. She tells him to stop being disobedient because that power was meant to destroy this entire continent. But when the little black ball touches the power, it turns into a black hole. It absorbs all of the queen's power, who disappears instantly. Looking at the house, she is baffled, thinking, what? Did my magic disappear? What did he do from inside that house? The protagonist is inside, lying on the bed just waiting for death to come. The queen then descends from the skies to fight the little dog. It seems I underestimated you, didn't I? She unleashes her maximum power, saying that now it will be 100%. The little dog once again prepares his missiles, and a huge explosion occurs. Meanwhile, the protagonist is there sleeping. After a while, he wakes up wondering, am I dead already? Not dead yet? Huh, what's going on? Strange, I'm still at home. Let me take a look outside. Hesitant, he goes to grab the doorknob. He's afraid to open the door and find the queen there ready to kill him. So he just takes a peek, and there she is, holding the little dog all destroyed. Our protagonist calls out the dog's name, Wonkai, and the queen, in a mocking tone, says, oh, I'm sorry, but I had to completely destroy this magical tool of yours that you're so proud of. Our protagonist is scared, saying, can't we talk a little bit, queen? The queen replies, of course, right after I kill you. But inside, she's thinking how unbelievable the situation is. How did that magical tool make me use all my power? Is this the end of the queen? And then she faints there, falls flat on the ground. Our hero rushes to help her, asking if she's okay. And the deactivation of her armor begins, which was sustained by magic. Everything covering her starts to fade away. And our boy obviously has a nosebleed as usual. Sometime later, it's already night. She wakes up in bed handcuffed. As soon as she notices this, she thinks, damn, how did I, the legendary Queen Elizabeth, the strongest of all millennia, get defeated so pathetically? And the worst part, instead of taking the opportunity to kill me, he imprisoned me. All of this is just for him to show me his power. She tries to free herself, but can't, and thinks, damn it, another legendary level tool, which I've never heard of. How much more power does this hero of legends hide from me? She looks around, seeing chess pieces, playing cards, and thinks, I've never seen any of this around here. Apparently, this hero is much more treacherous than I imagined. I really underestimated him. At that moment, our hero enters the room with some snacks in hand. She looks and says, all right, if you want to kill me, but don't expect me to beg for mercy. But our protagonist is just thinking, how annoying this queen is. She's too strong. This is my only way to survive. So he tells her, can't we talk? These handcuffs I put on you, it was just a precaution, because I'm very afraid of you. You're formidable. The queen is a bit confused, thinking she's being underestimated. He says, I think we, had a misunderstanding. I'm going to take these handcuffs off you, so we can talk peacefully, okay? But from her perspective, she's interpreting what he said like this. Sorry if you hadn't realized from the beginning the difference between us. believing that you were strong enough to challenge the hero. Okay? I'm going to release you here for you to realize that you can't do anything, and you're going to obey everything I say. Then she thinks, this bastard, how dare he threaten the demon queen? He then says, ready? I've already released you from the handcuffs to show you that I can't do anything against you. Got it? Let's talk. The queen is frustrated. Damn it, I underestimated him too much. As strong as I am, I also have to know when to surrender, but he will pay dearly for this arrogance in the future. Our protagonist leaves the room trembling and says, go rest now. Our hero breaks the fourth wall and says to us, you must be wondering, why didn't I kill the demon queen? But I've read in the books of this world, and it's extremely common for the demon queen to be revived immediately after dying. So if I kill her, she will come back. The only way to resolve this conflict here is by ending this conflict. There can no longer be a fight between the queen and the hero. As long as I'm not a threat to her, I'll be able to become her friend, and we'll live happily ever after. The crazy hero is laughing like the Joker. The queen is just thinking, damn, he's still laughing in my face. The prota grabs the little dog there and says, hey, buddy, you're all beat up, huh? The queen, seeing that situation, says, oh, so this is your most powerful magical tool? Our hero thinks, it's not exactly a magical tool. It was just a little invention I made when I was kind of bored. And he responds to her, yeah, you could say that. It was one of the last things I developed. The queen lets out a little smile, planning, perfect, now's the time. He was careless. By taking off my handcuffs, he allowed me to use my secret abyss magic and instantly recover. And now, without the protection of your robot, the balance of this fight is completely in my favor. It's time to kill you. Ready for the attack, she said. Sorry for breaking your things, great hero. But he replies, relax, it's okay. His memory card is still here. Behind him, she's thirsty. This is the perfect moment. I'm going to end the hero of legends now. At this point our hero says, luckily I have 6 more of this little body of his prepared. So you don't need to worry about that, queen. The poor girl is speechless. He already puts the memory card in and the little dog turns on, all happy jumping. Le Ping, our hero still says to her, I even like having company, but sometimes they're too messy. So I just leave one activated. In her view, all of this was a plan for her to be embarrassed. Seeing his distorted smile, she already falls on the bed, not understanding anything. There's no way, it's impossible. Suddenly she smells something and says, what's that smell? Li Ping says, I saw you passed out, so I prepared a little meal here to warm you up, and it's ready, all made with the farmer ingredients he grew. But after being a farmer, therefore, the time, his level of cultivation is the maximum. The queen looks at the food and says, why did you bother with this? Only the weak need to eat. I have transcended. I don't need these things. But she smells the food and ends up feeling like eating. Our hero says, I myself cultivated all these vegetables and grains. Please try it. In his head, he just wants to resolve the conflict with food. She's still hesitant, but decides to try it, speechless. The protagonist is thinking, even though he has practiced cooking for so many years, would what he cooks be able to please someone of the queen demon's royalty status? She takes some more, and bites, takes another, and already thinks, with each bite, the meat juices explode in my mouth like fireworks, not to mention that the flavor is so natural, and it still contains a very high amount of magical energy. Who would have thought that there are delicacies in this world that would please even the demon queen? I can't do anything but swallow every last bite of his meat. At that moment, she feels something exploding inside her, and complains to him that it's too spicy. What did you do with this food? Li Ping is scared, saying that the only thing he did was put a little chili, which is something he likes. Can't the demon queen handle spicy food? The queen is suffering and thinking, it was obvious, as if this hero was going to be so nice. He's only trapping me to use me for experiments. He brings her a soup, saying it will help reduce the burning. She stares and thinks, he gave me the poison and now he's giving me the antidote. Really, I'm playing in the palms of this hero. It's such an uncomfortable feeling, though. Suddenly she transcends and goes to heaven with the protagonist's meat in her mouth. The taste is so comfortable, so peaceful. The war between the demon queen and the hero, none of that matters to me anymore. I'm going to forget everything and live quietly, because I finally discovered how insignificant I am. The food has such a high magical concentration that it even evolves her. Getting stronger, she gets confused. She looks at him and says, "Stop pretending. What do you want from me?" Li Ping, feeling awkward, says, "What do you think? I just wanted to do some research to see if the demon queen and the hero could live together." But she interprets it differently. "In this world, you are the only one qualified to be my research slave, since I am the hero. So come here, I will help you get stronger, to see if one day you can beat me." Our protagonist asks, "Do you agree with this? I'll keep making delicious food to serve you." While the queen is losing her mind, saying that a knight may die, but not passing so much shame, especially her, demon queen. She is sure that the protagonist's plan is to make her stronger, to see if she has any chance of facing him. Thinking about it, she turns there, goes to the bed, stands up, and announces, "I agree with you, but there are two conditions. First, I am not doing this because I am afraid of you, but because I want to reach the pinnacle and be the strongest in the world." Li Ping is confused. The demon queen, does she not know she can kill me? She continues, "Second, as long as I am here, don't think I will bow my head. I will never submit to you. My dignity as the great queen must never be violated. If that happens, even if I have to sacrifice everything, I will destroy you." Our hero is all embarrassed and says, "Understood, understood. Okay, let's be friends. Let's stay close to each other." She gives him a stare and says, "It's okay if you want to do research. Feel free. And another thing, if there's anything tasty, give me some." And our hero agrees. A year has passed, and our protagonist is using the legendary prophecy sword to chop wood, while he thinks things have kind of complicated, because after the queen forced her way into the house, he lost the camouflage that hid the house from the whole world. And the monsters that keep passing by there don't seem easy to deal with, but obviously, when they sense the queen's presence in the house, they don't dare to attack. The problem is that he imagines as soon as the queen leaves, he'll probably lose his house. From inside, the queen is screaming angrily, asking why lunch isn't ready yet. In our protagonist's head, he can't let her escape, he needs her protection. Meanwhile, in the living room, the naughty queen is watching some high-quality content. And besides, after eating so much this whole year, she got chubby. She says, "I'm tired of watching these same recordings. Don't you have anything more from that system?" Li Ping responds, "I've told you. The system has been gone for a long time. Come over here, I made lunch." She thinks about getting up, but instead of walking, she conjures two little wings to fly over to the table. She looks at Li Ping and says, "What kind of poison is in these potatoes here? It seems that the more I eat this, the lazier I become." She ponders, "This darn guy, using delicious food to paralyze me with this slow-acting poison, and still trying to lead me to total depravity with these extremely provocative images." Deluded, Li Ping tries to explain, "It's just that these potatoes have a lot of calories, and then by eating a lot, you start to gain weight and get kind of lazy." At that moment, she looks down and sees her belly, but then she conjures magic there, and there, turned all the energy from the belly into magical energy, turning into a mega babe. The protagonist is impressed. "Can magic be used in this way?" She stares at him and says, "Haha, another of your tricks didn't work. Are you disappointed?" Li Ping tells her, "Yes, I am very disappointed. Now let's eat already." She looks at the table, he says, "Wow, today's food is perfect. I won't hold back," and starts eating. Li Ping lets some words in the air. "As much as she eats a lot, I always manage to go and make more food, right? And besides, I'll have to get used to it anyway, since we're going to live like this for a long time." Her interpretation, of course, is completely different. "You're still very weak. I'll have to fatten you up a lot before I kill you." So he gets up and says, "I'll get you a dessert." She, on the other hand, can't stand it anymore, thinking, "The jerk keeps treating me like a pig, feeding me with these magical foods. I've evolved more than 10 times just this year. It's not possible that now I don't have enough power to challenge him. It's time for the great decisive battle." But right at that moment, our hero already gets the little pudding and says, "Here, your favorite here, look." Her eyes sparkle and she goes all happy to eat. The prota thinks, even though she's the demon queen, she's not very difficult to deal with. You just need the right food. The scene changes to an old man running away with a blonde girl. They are being chased by some creatures in purple cloaks and white masks, who are throwing some powers in their direction, until they get trapped in a magic cage and have to stop to fight. It's the father and his daughter. He turns to her and says, "I'll hold them here. You run to the city and try to find a safe place. The daughter replies, I don't want to leave you here and escape alone. But the father retorts, I promised your mother I would protect you until the end. The creatures are already conjuring a massive magic to attack them. The father then says it's time to use the strongest power of all, and sends a slash of white light that cuts the enemy who is conjuring the magic in half. But the guy seems to be made of slime and already reassembles. The daughter tries to shoot an arrow, but her attacks just go through the monsters. The father warns, there's no way you can help with your arrows. Just run to the city and flee. The monster comes to punch her, but the father manages to defend. But unfortunately he is thrown far away, hits his back on the rock, and is already all bloody. Almost dying, he says, don't come help me, just run away. Then the creatures begin to gather, and transform into a giant monster. The daughter says to the monster, please, I'll go with you. Just let my father go alive. But at that moment she feels she's about to die. But suddenly what seems to be a gigantic mammoth appears, crushing the creature. On top of the gigantic mammoth, there's a house. On top of the house, there's an elder ninja frog leader. And on top of the elder ninja frog leader's head, there's a doghouse with the protagonist's little robot. The frog speaks to the dog. Big brother, what are we going to do with these two harmless humans? The little dog replies, don't hurt them. I'll take them back to the master. In the next scene, the girl is waking up at Li Ping's house, all confused about what's happening. Looking around, she wonders, where am I? What happened? As far as I remember, my father was by my side about to die. She then gets up, rushes to the door, and opens it. When she looks, her father is showing some bodybuilder poses to our protagonist, who asks him, wow, how do I get a physique like that? The father replies, a warrior's physique is something fundamental. You have to take better care of yourself, my boy. Li Ping thinks, so this is the so-called warrior profession that I hear so much about. It's amazing. The little dog is all happy walking around the queen, who, annoyed, kicks him and says, who told you to bring these two here to my house? Stupid dog. The little dog gets all sad and starts crying, and our protagonist keeps squeezing the guy's muscles, saying, wow, you're so resilient. The father says, okay then, if the great Li Ping doesn't mind, I won't hide it either. He then bursts out of his clothes, and our hero just admires, while the daughter is thinking, Dad, what are you doing there? Oops. Then she notices the presence of her daughter, and our guy tries to explain the situation. But the demon queen already goes to her and says, there, now that you're awake, Scram. I'm warning you, I got here first. Li Ping, trying to calm the situation, says, relax, let's go inside. He then serves some tea and says, sorry for not having anything to offer you too. It's a rural place and I do everything myself, so it's all very simple. The boy looking asks, Dad, is this the miraculous potion you talked about that cured you instantly? Our protagonist is embarrassed. I think calling this a miraculous potion is a bit exaggerated. It's just a little boiled water with some herbs. The queen is furious on the side. Damn it, why did this dog bring these two weak humans here? Is Li Ping not satisfied with just me? Am I not enough in this house? The father begins to explain the situation, saying that he was completely unconscious and vaguely remembers. But he remembers the dog bringing him, and then when he took a sip of the drink, he transcended instantly and was completely healed, becoming stronger than ever, and says, daughter, if it weren't for the great Li Ping, I could never see you again. She looks at the tea and thinks, wow, but this here is so precious. Can we really drink this? Our hero says, you adventurers are so humble, but relax. You can drink it, no problem. They thank him and start drinking. Instantly, both transcend, going through a myriad of events, ending up in the cornfield, crying on the ground, birds flying around, a circle with an alien ship passing by. Both are confused, and the father instantly goes from a 3-star archmage to 4 stars, and the girl goes from a 1-star mage to a 1-star archmage. The father turns to his daughter and says, girl, our level has advanced instantly, and she replies, indeed. I even feel that the elven blood, from my mother's lineage, was awakened by this drink. New ears grew on my head. I really checked and she didn't have elf ears before. The two are dismayed to realize how much stronger Li Ping is. For them, that is an unattainable power. They even get demotivated. The protagonist looks and says, relax, I'll serve another glass for you. The father crying says, it's okay, Mr. Li Ping, it's enough. The father is thinking, Mr. Li Ping is a heaven-sent person. I can't cause any more trouble for him. Our hero says, alright, thinking, I wanted to serve some different drinks and food, but unfortunately, Elizabeth took and hid everything. And if I take it to serve them, she'll kill everyone. And she's right there saying, everything here is mine. Don't even think about taking anything else. Our hero lets out a sigh saying, yeah, really, we don't have anything else to serve. I'm sorry you were attacked, right? What happened? The father explains that they were attacked because of the elven lineage in the daughter's body. Her mother was a great saint elf. However, her husband was of the human race. And for elves, it is forbidden to marry any other race. So the protagonist asks, oh, so the elves are hunting you down? The queen interrupts saying, stop lying. The demon queen banned interracial marriage long ago when she conquered the world. The father said it's a long story, but since her mother had to return to the elven place, he had to hide his daughter all this time. Li Ping then asks, but even so, do they know where you are? How do they find you? The father explains that actually the mother was a sacrifice, and since she returned to the elven tribe, they are no longer being hunted. But now it's the Black Guild of the Demon Kingdom that's after them. Li Ping looks to the side thinking, demons? The Black Guild? Could it be you? She gets angry and points her finger at him, who apologizes. She sits down and tells him to explain where this Black Guild of Demons is wanting to capture elves from. The father explains that apparently, this Black Guild is conducting experiments on living bodies to try to bring the Demon Queen back from the dead, and elves are necessary materials. They are trying so hard that even the daughter, who is not of pure lineage, is being hunted. Li Ping looks, thinking, I guess that has something to do with you, doesn't it? The queen grabs him and starts shaking him, telling him not to even think about it. Then she says it doesn't make sense for her to have been here for a whole year and for him to have always seen her, so she couldn't have left. The father and daughter are confused. The queen says, wow, just with my absence for a year, the land is destroyed like this. Who has been spreading the rumor that the queen is dead? But they tell her, Queen Elizabeth hasn't been seen for over 500 years. If she were alive, she would have appeared to take over the whole world again. She must be dead, right? Li Ping is biting his fingers, thinking, 500 years? She's been living here with me for a year. The queen sits on the couch and asks, what are the rumors of her death? The elf explains that according to the great literary legend, the queen was destroyed by the legendary hero. The father continues, the battle lasted for over a month, until finally the great hero sacrificed himself to protect the continent, and died along with the demon queen. At this point, the queen gives a glare at the two and takes them to a death world. The daughter asks, Father, what place is this? The father says that it is her pure intention to kill the two. The queen then says, all this rumor is false. And he just agrees. Li Ping said it must also be a false rumor, because he is the legendary hero. At least that's what the system said. Father and daughter then are left without understanding anything. Li Ping explains, and this one here, which you're all talking about, is Queen Elizabeth. The two start exploding with excess information. Their brains can't reason with all this. From the queen's point of view, the interpretation is different. Look at this fool here. I've dominated her for so long, she doesn't even know what to do, laughs in her face. With that, she hits the table angrily, saying she's not going to stay here entertaining them. Thinking, damn Li Ping, you stinker. It seems like you only saved them to humiliate me in front of them. This time you went too far. She slams the door and leaves. The father then asks Li Ping, what are your plans for the future? What are you going to do with us? Our hero says he needs to calm down because even he doesn't know what to do. After Elizabeth broke the barrier, the synchronization of time inside and outside became completely messed up. Night falls, and the daughter is talking to her father. Wow, I didn't expect your story to be like this. Apparently, the great demon queen fell in love with the legendary hero and gave up the whole world just to hide with him. Just like you did with Mom. The father replies, stop talking nonsense. We can't even compare to them. And another thing, at this moment Li Ping must be considering whether he kills us or not. The daughter said, but if he were going to kill us, he wouldn't have saved us. Why did he save us to kill us? But the father says, did you not drink that tea? Did you not realize how distant they are? Just by seeing his power, you should know that for them we are no more than ants. Whether we stay alive or not, none of that matters to them. It all depends on how they're feeling at the time. At this point, the protagonist enters the room and says, so it seems like you two haven't slept yet? What are you talking about? The elf gets scared. If you haven't slept yet, how about we play some cards? The father plays some cards. The three are then sitting around a candle. Li Ping asks, "Did you understand everything?" The father basically said that while the elf girl is thinking. It's like my father said, this here is Li Ping's test to decide if he's going to kill us or not. Our hero then says, "So now I'll start dealing the cards." The father swallows hard and says, "Mr. Li Ping, could I ask you what the name of this game is?" The elf girl is terrified because there's an aura emanating from the deck. Our protagonist thinks, "I can't say we're going to play landlord. The people in this world won't even understand those words." "I know," then he says, "the name of this game here is Dragon Battle." Surprised, they say, "Dragon Battle?" Elizabeth, who is nearby disguised, also gets confused. "Dragon Battle? What does he want to do with them?" Li Ping explains, "You two brave heroes have to join forces to defeat the dragon. We'll decide who the dragon is and who the heroes are based on the cards we draw." The father and daughter stare at each other, both thinking, this is definitely a test. Nasrum then says, "I'll start dealing the cards now. Remember, choose very carefully." Li Ping pulls his hand. "I'll take a look at my cards first." The father looks at his son and says, "We can't hesitate now. Draw your cards." Alright. There's already a weird mana coming out of the deck. She then draws a card and the two are taken to another dimension. The poor girl is staggering, leaning on the ground thinking, this isn't good. Just by drawing a card, my mana was completely drained. I'm powerless. She looks at her father and says, "I'm sorry." And he replies, "It's okay, my daughter, leave the rest to me." Li Ping asks, "Do you want to be a dragon?" He stares at his hand thinking, even though I don't have many big cards, it's still a pretty good hand. Not to mention there's a king. This isn't bad at all. It can win. The father and daughter say they have no intention of being the dragon. Li Ping, on the other hand, is having fun. "If I can get another 4 and an ace, I'll have a winning hand." He asks again, "Are you sure you don't want to?" They reply that they don't. Li Ping says, "Since that's the case, I won't be polite." And he puts his hand on the deck and draws 2. Then he throws an 8, a 10, and a queen. He is dissatisfied with the cards he drew and looks disappointed. The father thinks, "What happened? We didn't do anything? Is Mr. Li Ping dissatisfied with our performance?" Nosa then says, "I'll start with an 8. It's your turn, Uncle Beerus." Uncle is already sweating cold. "If we can pass this test, he'll spare us. I can't give up, but I'm feeling. Every time I play a card, it costs me a few years of my life. My life force is being drained." Trembling, he says, "I play a jack." The daughter says, "Father!" But he interrupts saying, "It's okay, leave it to me." She then says she'll pass. Li Ping thinks about their strategy. Besides the royal flush, they can make a sequence from 7 to the queen. Only the 10 and the jack are left. Should I break with the pair? If I do, they'll play a 2, thinking of various strategies. But unable to come to a good conclusion, he says he'll pass too. The father asks, "Are you really not going to play?" Li Ping says no. The father is confused, thinking, "This Li Ping, he's making me play these cards to consume all my life. Since that's the case, I need to get rid of all this as quickly as possible." He then plays 2 queens, 3 sixs, 3 sevens, according to the rules. This combination of cards is called Flying Dragon. I don't know what's going on, but it seems like all the life energy from his leg was drained. The price for this was a leg. The bigger the cards, the higher the price to be paid. A flying dragon appears between them and both are confused. "What is this?" The creature then uses a power and hits Li Ping on the head. Elizabeth watching everything. The father is afraid, thinking he made a wrong card combination. "I just offended the legendary hero." But our hero is very calm and says, "Well played." The father says, "It's your turn now, Mr. Li Ping." However, our hero responds, "I'll just pass. You can go again." The father says, "Alright," and plays a 3, his fingers and leg already starting to feel lifeless. The elf daughter says she'll pass too. Our protagonist then says, "My turn," and plays a 10. Both look at each other knowing they can't beat that hand. Li Ping reveals, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack and queen. A sequence. Now it's trouble for the two of them. Giant destructive waves begin to appear, and they are both drowning. The father tries to save his daughter, but it's hard to resist the waves, until they both wake up breathless. "I can't play," but our protagonist is calm. Now there are 3 kinds with a pair, summoning a group of knights. The father tells his daughter he can't win, but the elf girl says, "Hold on, I can. The father tells her not to do it. It will cost too much life force and is very risky. But she says, I can't just hide. I also want to protect you, and I'll play 3 of a kind with a pair. The knights then go against each other beyond. A battle in the skies ensues, and only her knight remains. The father asks if his daughter is okay, and she says yes. Li Ping praises her move, saying, you really have to protect your allies even if you have to sacrifice your own cards. The most important thing is that determination. Our protagonist thinks, I didn't expect them to learn how to play cards so quickly. The father looks at his dwindling hand. Determination? At that moment Li Ping says, now it's too late. The father and daughter are scared. Mr. Li Ping? Elizabeth thinks things are getting bad. This aura is frightening. Our protagonist then plays 2 jokers. The dimension begins to shatter, and a killer clown appears above. Elizabeth seems to recognize what he summoned, saying it's a 3-star demon, the Clown King. He was about to attack the other 2, making a heart. But then he notices Elizabeth and says, what are you looking at, huh? Turning the heart into a knife. You better be careful, or I'll kill you. Elizabeth tries to defend herself. Who do you think I am to belittle? But she's angry. All this time she's been absorbing everything the protagonist has been doing for her, and theoretically giving all the possible energy. But she just reached the 3-star level. But this creature that Li Ping summoned is a 3-star demon. She's confused. How can he summon something of the same power level as me so easily? The father looks at his daughter and says, Elif, I'm sorry, but I don't have this power. It's okay, Dad. How can you blame yourself? It's all my fault. I annoyed Mr. Li Ping. The poor man is spitting blood, saying, my life force. It's being drained. Li Ping sees him spitting blood and asks, Uncle, are you okay? Thinking, wow, I don't think his injuries have healed yet. He sees the old man's hand that had 3 3s and 4 kings and says, wow, he could have won a long time ago. He was just letting me play with him. Man, I was so naive thinking I was good. It seems like I just disrupted his rest. With that, he says it's alright and takes all the cards. The dimension dissolves along with the demon, and he stands up saying, sorry for causing trouble. The father and daughter can't understand the legendary hero, but they are relieved to see they are still alive. Elizabeth is angry, thinking, ugh, that ridiculous Li Ping. He pretended to want to play cards with those 2 just to take advantage of this opportunity and hit me with that clown. The next day, in the morning, the 2 are leaving, and Li Ping says, Uncle Base, do you really not want to stay a few more days? The fruits I planted are almost ripe. He bows, we can't disturb you 2 anymore. Mr. Li Ping has already been very charitable and gracious. We will never forget. Our hero is a little embarrassed and says, it wasn't that serious. The father says, don't worry. After we leave, we won't tell anyone about what happened here. The elf girl with presents in her hand asks, Mr. Li Ping, do you still want to give us something so precious? But he says, it's just a little tea, no problem. Approaching the old man, he puts something in his hand and says to him, oh, and here's something for you too. A memento for you, uncle. The father looks to see what it is, and it's the deck of cards. Li Ping says, you can keep that. My card skills are very bad. I'm not cut out for this. Then Elizabeth appears, saying, hey. He looks at her, and she just opens her mouth. Go ahead, get out of here. They both run away, and Li Ping is left somewhat confused. She enters. Well, now that everything is back to normal, it's time to make some food for this queen here. Our protagonist simply agrees. The father and daughter are running as fast as they can. The daughter asks her father to stop, saying, I can't take it anymore. But he tells her, we can't stop. First, there was that game of the legendary card test, and then a threat from the demon queen. And then he remembers the night before. The 2 of them were in the room, when suddenly Elizabeth appeared and cut off their heads, saying, I, Elizabeth, command you 2 to leave this place tomorrow. You must not reveal any information about this demon queen and the legendary hero to the world. The 2 replied, yes, your majesty. The queen explained, if you have any plans to go against this queen, your head will be destroyed immediately by the curse on your neck. The father then tells his daughter, who would believe that the truth of the story is that the great hero Li Ping grew tired of the world's conflict and didn't want to cause harm anymore. At that moment, the daughter says, wait, isn't this place familiar? He takes a look. Huh, did we run this far? The little dog nearby thinks, bringing them here should be enough for them to stop bothering the master and that evil woman. In fact, they didn't run that far. The little dog just grabbed the two and took them on a rocket ride. The daughter then says, "Are the bodies of the Black Guild apostles still here?" The father starts looking around. "There must be several types of high-level demons nearby. We have to get out as soon as possible." The little dog looks at something approaching and thinks, "What is that?" "Whatever, I'm going back home to keep being beaten by that wicked woman." Those who felt sorry for the little dog being beaten up now know that he quite enjoyed it. In front of the two, a legion of shadows appears. One of the demons that appears lets out a "he," and the others follow with a "gugu." The father says, "I recognize that one. He's the great apostle, and he's a 2-star spiritual demon. Besides, there are several 4-star and 3-star spiritual demons, while the father and daughter are just 2 great mages of 1 star. She grabs his arm and says, "Dad, the difference in strength is too great. Leave me, you can escape." But the father is now motivated. "I know, the difference in our strength is really huge. But after seeing the realm of those two, these apostles here are nothing. Your father used to be called the Iron Heart of the Heroes." He points the deck in their direction. "Daughter, the demon is scared." The father says, "Since your mother returned to the elven tribe, your father has been taking care of you and being cautious. But I was wrong. Escaping won't solve the problem. If we can solve this, I'll take you back to the tribe and go after your mother." He activates a quad invocation. Descendant of the god of the 4-card arrow. An elf appears in the invocation. It's literally her mother. The mother grabs a giant bow and arrow and sends it towards the creatures. Upon contact, the creatures are instantly destroyed. Everyone is being evaporated. The great apostle tries to hold onto the arrow and seems to do so effortlessly. But the arrow in his hand continues to gain strength. After some resistance, his head explodes. The father puts away the deck, the elf disappears, and he falls to the ground. The daughter runs, saying, "Dad, Dad!" The father says to her, "It seems your father must change professions. From now on, a new profession has been born on this continent, the Master of Cards." And the elf creates a hole in the path. A week later, everything is calm at the protagonist's little house. He thinks, "This magical world is so amazing. My attempt to create a hybrid fruit was very successful. But without someone to share the joy of the harvest, it always feels like something is missing. Knights, demon queen, warriors, elves. I originally thought I was content with a peaceful farmer's life. But after coming into contact with the outside world, my heart isn't so calm anymore. I want to see what's on the other side. People are always like that. They get one thing and want two. But I'm so weak. Forget it." The demon queen appears in front of him out of nowhere and says, "You seem a bit down. What are you thinking?" He responds, "I don't know. I guess I wanted to go out and see some things, but never mind. I'm too weak." She gets excited. "Finally, you're interested in leaving this place? Well, come with me on a trip." But inside she's thinking, "I understand that the outside world isn't comparable to you, but your attitude there is already too arrogant." Our protagonist, hearing the invitation to travel, is surprised. "Really?" In his head, "It's a completely different story if I'm out there with the protection of the demon queen." She tells him to stop talking nonsense and change clothes quickly. The two then put on their adventure clothes. The queen says to him, "Wow, I have to admit, not only your cooking skills, but your sewing skills are also impressive." He replies, "Of course, those are my specialties." Meanwhile, the little dog is barking there, wagging his tail. She snaps her fingers, creates a teleportation and says, "Well, let's go. We'll reach the nearest city." Li Ping is impressed. "Wow, what a convenient ability." The two then start heading towards the portal, but he says, "Wait a minute, Elizabeth. I have some questions. After we go. First, you're not going to leave me alone, right? Second, will you control your emotions? Third, can you be discreet?" However, her interpretation, as always, was completely different. First, don't go without my permission. Second, you better control yourself. Third, don't use magic, or you'll ruin my adventurous fun. She just agrees, saying, "I got it." But Li Ping says, "Lastly, after seeing the outside world, will you come back with me?" In his head, he's afraid that if he goes out with her and she doesn't come back, he'll be attacked without the barrier. She only agrees with this, thinking, "Before defeating that evil hero, the outside world meant nothing to me." Li Ping says, "Really? You'll come back?" She then says, "I'll come back, but you'll have to agree to a condition." Li Ping asks, "What?" The queen tells him, "When we return, I want you to make me a super luxurious fruit pudding. Li Ping is a bit confused. A pudding? She says yes. Any problem? He says no, and they leave. The two leave, and the protagonist's little dog stays there. They enter the portal and appear in the city of Bolster. Several nice creatures. Our protagonist is impressed. Wow, this place is amazing. It's like I've entered another world. Look over there, Elizabeth. There's even an equipment shop. And wow, look at this. They're selling ingredients. But this doesn't seem to be just pork. He starts going to all the stalls happily. However, Elizabeth is thinking, 500 years have passed here, but it seems that the changes weren't that significant. Our protagonist looking around thinks, this doesn't seem chaotic at all compared to how the old man described. She's feeling proud. This is because I established a very strong foundation here during my reign. In the original world, various forces were in conflict, and the situation was chaotic. But I used my absolute strength to suppress everyone and established a set of rules that made everyone treated equally. So, I was the one who really saved the world, not the so-called legendary hero. After this speech, she looks to the side, and where's the so-called legendary hero? He's more interested in a little girl they're selling teddy bears. Wow, the details of the stitching are so delicate. They're very well done. Did you make this, little sister? The girl says. Yes, I did. If you want, I can even offer you a lower price. But then a pig-headed guy appears, kicking and shouting. Who gave you permission to open a store in this place? Stinky girl, your church owes protection money to my gang. And yet you had the courage to come here and open a store on my street? The poor girl's brothers are all shaking, and he grabs her by the neck. But she says, but you never even protected us. Why should we have to pay you any money for protection? The pig tells her, since last month, this street here is now the territory of the Beast Gang. If you want to survive in this place, you'll have to pay monthly tributes. The little girl says, that's not true. This church belongs to the nun. When she returns, you'll be in trouble. The pighead says, so it seems like you're still misinformed, huh? Or are you pretending to be ignorant and not wanting to understand this situation? Today, I'm going to kick all the orphans out of this place and destroy this broken church. Our protagonist tells the pig to stop it, and the pig asks what he's going to do if he doesn't stop. Elizabeth, watching from afar, thinks, my God, why are you getting involved in these matters? Leave these people alone. But our hero signals with his hands, asking for her help. She turns her head as if to say, no, I'm not going to stoop to that level. The furious pig says, I asked you what your intention is. Our protagonist is completely lost, until he thinks, I have an idea. And then he shouts to everyone, this pig here is bullying a little girl. Come on, condemn him. But everyone in the city pretends not to see or hear anything. The pig, laughing at him, says, did you really think anyone would be against me? My God, buddy, this is Beast Street. Judging by your clothes, you must be a foreigner from the south, right? That woman next to you isn't half bad. Our protagonist tells him to calm down. Let's talk. I have some local spices in my backpack. I can share them with you. But the pig says enough with the stalling and tells one of his henchmen, beat this guy and take that woman to the gang. But that was the biggest mistake he could have made. Elizabeth asks, do you really think you're qualified to capture me? You've stepped on a tiger's tail. The skies begin to darken, and the pig is confused. Why did the skies change? What's happening? Li Ping tells her to stop. Don't do this. You'll destroy the entire city. He's waving his hands there. Please calm down. At most, just give them a little scare. There's no need to fight. They're ordinary people, you know, Elizabeth says. I'll spare him because of you. Seeing everyone's magical power there, you can see that Elizabeth's is much greater. And the little girl with glasses can see that. Suddenly, it starts to rain, and the pig is scared. He stares at our duo saying, you too, are you going to try to protect the church and these orphans? Our protagonist just wants to fix things. How about this? Tell me, how much is the protection money? The pig answers, it's 10 gold coins for 2 months in total. Elizabeth then loses her temper and says, 10 gold coins and you're causing all this chaos? You really are an idiot. Our protagonist goes to her and asks, you must have a lot of gold coins, right? She replies, stop messing around. I have so many treasures that I can't even count. Li Ping says, how about you lend me some? I'll sell some vegetables later at home and pay you back. Angry, Elizabeth asks, are you trying to use my food to trade for these useless things? I won't accept that. Besides, I had no money when I met you. The pig is brave, saying, so, do you guys have any money? Li Ping says, We really don't have any gold coins. Can I use some local products from my backpack to pay for it? The angry pig refuses. Are you kidding me? Enough of this. But suddenly, someone throws a bag of gold coins at his face. The pig asks, who did this crap? But when he looks, there's a lot of gold, and then a knight appears. This guy really lives up to the name of a knight. He looks at the pig and says, stop bothering my friends and get out of here. You've received your money, the pig says. So now the knight in shining armor is coming, huh? Okay, I'll let this one slide. I'm going, but you won't be so lucky next month. The little girl then thanks everyone there. Our protagonist thanks him, saying, I brought some fruits. You can have them if you don't mind. The knight suddenly says, I wanted you to be my partner in something. Staring at Elizabeth, the little girl is there confused. Partner? What can I help you with? Elizabeth crosses her arms and says, I'm not interested. Let's go, Le Ping. But our hero tells her that they can't do that. He just helped us. Let's at least see what he has to say, right? The girl then says goodbye to the other orphans, saying she'll be back soon. They are about to enter a bar. I don't know how he's going to sit in the chairs with his horse's body. The knight tells them not to pay attention to anyone. Elizabeth angrily says, it's all your fault, Le Ping. You insisted on bringing me to this terrible place, and I'm wasting my time. Our hero ignores her. The knight then says, we've arrived. When he opens the door, a bunch of girls cling to him. Our hero is confused when he hears the guys say they are his wives. He's then preparing some tea and says, well, let me introduce them to you. The first one is Gotcha, and her profession is a shield warrior. This one here is the assassin Lolo and the mage Glee. The guy literally gathered a bunch of wives to make a perfect group for going into the dungeon. This guy is Elon Musk when it comes to productivity in the fantasy world. Lastly, there's Julia. She's an incredible elven archer. Li Ping asks, so she's of the elven race? I also met a girl who had elven blood. Elizabeth impatiently says, enough of this chatter. This is a waste of time. What's the deal you wanted to talk about? We need to leave soon. One of the horse guy's wives seems not to like that and says, Master, what's with this woman? Her attitude is very irritating. Elizabeth stares at her and says, that's how a queen should act. Do you have a problem with that? The assassin says that Elizabeth is quite funny, even calling herself a queen. Master, is this girl's brain functioning? Look at the shape of her ear. She probably has a mediocre lineage with a little elven blood. What is she doing in front of me? I personally advise this woman to be quieter, Elizabeth says. If you really want to bring destruction to this place, don't blame me. The little one runs ahead and says, calm down. Let's just have some pudding. Phew, I'm glad I made some. He then explains, we came from a distant place, from a tribe with no name, just to travel here. She is the princess of this place. Her name is Elizabeth, and I am her servant, Li Ping. The wives continue to criticize. No wonder you act so weird. Apparently you're the princess of a place that has never even seen the world. Your name is Elizabeth? You must be from a terrible place that worships that demon queen, right? Our hero asks them to stop. Let's take it easy. She's still adapting to cultural differences. The knight then says, well, let's talk business. I want to invite you three to join a treasure hunt in a dungeon. But he's thinking, that demonic aura she emitted on the street is not something a queen of an isolated tribe should have. Could it be? Li Ping is curious. A dungeon with treasure? And then he asks the girl next to him, do you know what that is? She explains, dungeons with treasure are dimensional spaces created by ancient magical entities. They usually have a lot of valuable things, but they're all very well hidden. Li Ping says he understands. The knight says, that's right. And I spent a lot of money and effort to get the information about this place. However, the condition is that to open the barrier, we need at least 8 people. Our hero then says he understands. You just need someone to complete the numbers? The orphan girl starts counting. 1, 2, 6, 8. Wait a minute, is there any way I don't have to go? Li Ping finds it strange and says to her, hey, isn't this place supposed to be full of precious things? Shouldn't you be happy to be able to go? But the girl replies, you don't understand. These places, they're very dangerous, and I'm just a level 4 mage. I'll die if I go there, our hero says. So that's how it is. I really didn't know about all this danger. The knight tries to reassure them. Don't worry, we just need people to complete the numbers, and your treasure in the end won't be less than ours. I guarantee you'll get at least a few thousand gold coins. One of the wives says, The master alone has taken out several dark apostles. He'll ensure our safety, the orphan boy says. A few thousand coins at least? Seriously? Then all the church's financial problems will be solved. Our hero looks at Elizabeth and asks, let's help them. It's just to complete the numbers, okay? Impatiently, Elizabeth agrees, saying he's the one deciding. Just don't bother me while I'm enjoying my pudding. The knight then looks at the wife who has an orb in her hand. Our hero asks what that crystal ball is. The knight explains, you just put your hand over it, and it will measure your magical power. The orphan girl recognizes it immediately. Wow, the crystal is showing 8769. That's at the level of a demonic spirit. The knight tells them. So, my magic level is already at 4 stars. My wives are also all great mages, 4 or 5 stars. Since we're forming a team, it would be good for us to cooperate well and get to know each other better. The orphan girl then places her hand on the orb, and it shows 300. One of the wives says, 300? I had a higher value when I changed professions for the first time. The girl apologizes, saying her level doesn't go up. Our hero says, I want to try too. He thinks to himself, well, I never learned magic during all these years, but I'm the so-called legendary hero. My potential shouldn't be that low. He puts his hand on the crystal, concentrates, and it shows 0. The knight is even confused. 0? Even for a pure martial artist, it shouldn't be like this. Our protagonist hits himself in the face. Oh, what was I expecting? I've been farming all this time. Obviously, I wouldn't have any magic. He sits down and says, I'm done. No magic in this life. The assassin woman says, what are you going to do then? Apparently you're useless, right? Li Ping replies, I'm pretty good at farming. Speaking of which, these fruits I recently harvested. You can even try them. The wife thinks, my God, look at this pumpkin. You can keep this trash for yourself. You really are just a servant. The knight says, Princess Elizabeth, it would be nice if you tried too. Li Ping says, Elizabeth, just cooperate with them for now. She agrees, thinking, how annoying. He wants this queen to accompany this game with these ignorant mortals. She taps the orb, using her power, and a glow begins to emanate, making it impossible for anyone to look at. Li Ping is afraid that if Elizabeth's identity as a demon queen is exposed, it will cause a lot of trouble. Elizabeth says she knows, and since they rarely go out, she'll join this game. She lowers her power and precisely puts in 8,768. The orphan girl says, wow, it's identical to the knight's power. She's also at the level of a demonic spirit. The wives think it's impossible. How is this woman at this level? Li Ping sighs. Phew, thank goodness. The knight tells her, wow, amazing, you really were the princess of a kingdom. With your entry into our group, the chances of getting the treasure will increase a lot. The orphan asks, how are we going to get to this place? The knight looks at one of the wives, and she uses something. With that, she activates a teleportation scroll and opens a portal above everyone. In the next moment, everyone arrives at the dungeon. Li Ping is excited, happy. Wow, I even got a little dizzy with this. The orphan feels some strange aura in that place. Elizabeth, on the other hand, has just arrived but seems bored. The knight then says, let's not waste time. Let's go straight to the treasure room. Elizabeth suddenly says, you know what? I'm not feeling it. Let's go home, Li Ping. One of the wives gets irritated with this and says, you weird woman, you came all the way here and now changed your mind at the last minute? Do you know how much a magical teleportation scroll costs? If you're not going in, you better not even think about leaving. Elizabeth looks at her and asks, are you going to stop me? Our hero steps forward to calm things down. Everyone, let's not be impulsive. Listen to me for a moment. Since we came here, Elizabeth, please, let's just take a look. The orphan girl with glasses says, Elizabeth, did you notice? Inside this cave, there's a magical power similar to yours. Our hero is confused. Wait a minute. Power similar to Elizabeth? What does that mean? The knight tries to use his charm to convince the queen, puts his hand on her shoulder. Excuse me, trust me. No matter what danger we encounter in there, I'll protect you. Please come with me, Princess Elizabeth. They then hold hands. However, she completely ignores him. After passing through the portal with the numbers 788, it closes behind them. Li Ping asks, can't we go back to where we came from? Elizabeth tells him, stop talking nonsense. This is a special magical space. Unless you're stronger than whoever created the barrier, it's impossible to leave. So unless you find the target of this place and complete all the requirements to break the barrier, no one can get out of here, the wives say. As long as we're with the master, we'll solve all this. But obviously, none of them like Elizabeth very much. The orphan girl asks, what are we going to gain from here again? She's told not to worry too much. Of course, it's treasures and gold coins. You won't be left behind either. Seeing that there are many paths, the orphan boy gets confused about which one to take. But he concludes, Elizabeth is here to ensure our safety, so it doesn't matter, let's just venture forth. The assassin wife says, Master, should we split up? And he replies that for now, it's better not to. He then tells Lee to use an ability. She agrees and raises her hand, releasing a light that starts spreading throughout the dungeon. She's confident, thinking, learn how to find the best path quickly. But Elizabeth finds it ignorant and continues to spread power until she collapses from exhaustion. The knight then asks, what's the structure of this maze? But she replies, Master, this maze seems to have no end. I've extended my magic to the maximum and still haven't found any edges. No end. I don't know where this ends. Everyone thinks it's impossible. Her magic extension goes up to 3 kilometers. The elf says, what if I use my spiritual divination? It's not great because the accuracy is 34%. The assassin interrupts. I suggest we split up and work in groups. I can use my clone technique to help everyone. Li Ping asks Elizabeth, do you know how to get out of here? She replies, of course, this maze is just an illusion, but this bunch of ignoramuses will never get out of here. Li Ping tells her, hey, then why don't you help them? We need to repay the favor of that guy as soon as possible. Elizabeth says she's changed her mind. She doesn't want to help anymore and just wants to see everyone die. Suddenly, the orphan girl with glasses points her finger. If we go through the 3rd cave, we'll reach our destination. Elizabeth looks at her strangely. Our hero asks, how do you know? The girl replies that it was just a guess. I just felt that there's a special magic coming from that direction. The mage wife gets angry and retorts, stop talking nonsense. I didn't sense any magic from there that you're talking about. A weakling like you shouldn't be making these random comments. The meek girl apologizes. The wife then says, even though I haven't explored everything, I'm sure the last passage is the one with the fewest monsters. Let's go that way. The knight asks everyone, what do you think? The assassin says she prefers to still split into smaller groups. And the other one says, I prefer that we listen to Glee. Even if we go to the wrong place, at least we'll stay together. The machine then asks the knight, please master, trust me. The knight then says, we'll stick together and go to the last cave. At this point, the orphan girl says, no, you can go anywhere but the last cave. She then summons her rabbit puppet and sends it in that direction. As soon as it reaches the mouth of the cave, it closes with its teeth and crushes the puppet. Our hero is curious. What was that? Ah, Elizabeth says, it's just a parasite beast. We usually find this inside giant monsters. The assassin stares at the mage and asks, didn't you say there would be fewer monsters there? The people in the knight's group are all confused and lost. Elizabeth then says, let them suffer alone. Let's go. Li Ping tells her, it would be better if you could lead the way then. She just starts walking. The girl with glasses says she's not sure if that's really the right way. The assassin looks at the knight and says, Master, should I use a clone to follow them and gather information? The knight replies, she just saw the horror of that killer worm. She wouldn't be able to make such a choice calmly without being confident. It seems Elizabeth's background isn't as simple as it seems. We'll follow them. And with that, everyone enters the same cave. And inside, there seems to be a lizard with a golden eye. And it's looking right at you. Leaving a like on this video. Brother, ring the bell so you don't lose the next part. For now, anything that goes above 15k views will get a second part. So help the algorithm with a juicy like. See you in the next one, my brothers.